Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Parcaut, your host of Helping the Brave. Let's bring in our guest today, Cole Grace. How you doing, Cole?
Hey, I'm doing great today. How about yourself?
Good. You sound really enthused to be here today. You sound like you.
Definitely.
All right. We've been talking for a while now about Costa Rica, and actually, it's been about 10 minutes. And the reason I want to bring it up is because a lot of people who join the service and get out and have income, they move other places than the United States to survive and
Yeah.
have it cheaper income and everything else. I've heard of places in Spain on the coast where you can live for 30 grand a year really well. And it's all about enjoying life. Life's too short to worry about things. And we'll get into more of the things other than that. But I just had someone pass away that I've known, and everybody's like, oh, you meant so much to me and blah, blah, blah. And I don't mean this wrong. But I was like, but you don't tell them while they're here. So
Right.
the whole purpose I want to talk about, and so I'm doing a whole 30-day post of, reminding people to tell people that they're important to them now, not later. And that's the same thing about veterans.
Hmm.
Don't just remember us on Veterans Day. Remember us all the time.
Yeah. And I have times where I think about battle buddies and then I don't send the message. And, that's a good reminder to send the message when you think about it.
Yeah. Well, that's when I was the president of my Rotary 23, 24. Because I was 24, yeah. And my goal was, I had the whole catch 22, challenge 22, which was to, I know the number for people committing suicides higher than that but it was a catchy thing at the time. And then I realized it was like 50 a day that were actually committing suicide. But it was
Yeah.
really to remind us to talk to 22 people a week, to remind them how important they are to us and reach out to them. They don't all have to be veterans, but someone's like, that's a lot of people. I go, you can do it by a text.
Right.
You can and call other ones, and then alternate it. You call some this week and text some next week, whatever it works. But you can do one text and hit boom, boom, boom through all the people you need to talk to. And at least you're reaching out to them to see how they're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Because you save people's lives by just reaching out, and you won't understand that. People that like us who's been in the military, you could be that one person that stopped them from committing suicide. I was talking to one guy and he's like, he called, somebody he knew who wouldn't pick up.
Hmm.
And that was his reason to try to commit suicide. Luckily, the gun jammed. But then the next time he called the buddy who really he knew would pick up. So
Yeah, it's definitely, it can be a small act that you don't even think is impactful, but just, doing that, making that small gesture could definitely save somebody's life.
but before we get into anything else, what service were you in and why?
Okay, I was in the Army National Guard. I was a combat engineer, so did route clearance and stuff. I don't have a real good patriotic reason for why,
There is no
because I
patriotic.
joined.
There's no reason.
No, I know, but I joined in July before September 11th, July, and I joined so I could go to college because I wanted to go to a university, and my mom wasn't going to pay for it, so I joined in July, and then September, boom, hits, and then ended up being deployed in 2005.
Okay. So I want to back up from what you said. All right. I joined when there was no war. All right. The reason I joined was to get out of Modesto, Turlock, California, actually, and see the world. I got to see San Diego. That was it. But at Camp Pendleton, actually, that's what I got to see. But the reason I asked what service, I had a lady who said the reason she picked the service she was in is because they took them out for the steak dinner.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
a big bonus for the combat engineer thing.
well, it was just a reason, why did you pick it? There's no right or wrong,
Yeah.
reason for it. It's just curious. So you joined as in reserves, but then you got deployed, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. And you're located right now in Costa Rica, but when you joined, you were in what, Michigan? Where were you?
Correct, yes, I was in Michigan.
Yeah,
So
I
I was in
thought
the
that's what you said.
Michigan Army National Guard, and, as a combat engineer, and I was actually deployed and, served in Ramadi under 1st and 2nd Marines, so it was a mixed, deployment.
I interviewed a guy who was National Guard, and he was deployed for 60 months
Wow.
over his period that he was. Yeah, it's just unheard of. And that's why when when I got out and they asked me, "Are you going to go in the reserves?" I'm like, "No, I could be deployed." "Oh, you'll never get deployed." Yes, you will. They're cutting the services for a reason and have the reserve just for one reason. The reason I asked about where you were located because it seems like I talked to more National Guard on the East Coast than anywhere else.
Okay. Mhm.
Midwest, East Coast kind of thing. I think it's bigger back there than it is here.
Yeah, and likely, there's a lot of Well, I guess there's a lot of natural disasters out there too, but
We don't
maybe.
have that. We only have two real bases out here.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
We have Fort Irwin, and then what's the other one? That's in. So that one's in the desert, and the other one is yeah, that's it. So I have that one, and then we have Monterey, which is a training, and then two other training facilities. But that's really they cut a lot of the bases in California years and years ago, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't get to see much. My son's actually he was in Alaska. He was up there for 4 years. Then then he went to Washington State. He just got back from Korea. And now he's looking at his next deployment. Next actual base will be Fort Irwin. I'm like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, average temperature 106. Not a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, no, it's not. You
it
just
cools off at night though.
yeah, to a nice 90 degrees.
And now it cools a little bit lower than that because that desert cools fast because that's closer to the Southern California. So
That
they get
that
those breeze through there. Yeah.
that temperature swing at night is something else. Even when it goes from like when we were in Iraq, I remember it going from like 120, 130 down to like 80, 90, and that huge swing made it feel cold when it was 80 degrees, freezing.
See, with us, where I live in Modesto, California, we'll get 100. And this time we'll get 100, during the summer, we'll get 22 days over 100. And that could be from 105 to 110. But then
Oh,
we cool off to 70. But when we get to 100, we'll cool off to like 60 at night.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the only way to survive. What I mean
Mhm.
is, so we have like a few hours of this extreme heat and then it cools off and, later in the evening. So that's the only way you can survive in California if you're not on the coast. And on the coast, you can't survive because you can't afford it unless you make a lot of money. All right. So
Right.
you were in the service, you got deployed. What was your MOS? I don't know if I asked you. You're a
Uh,
combat engineer, right? That's what you
yep,
said.
12 Bravo combat engineer.
And when you were deployed, anything happened? Did you see anything while you're over there?
Yeah. I was route clearance and it was kind of pre EOD. So we were IED hunters and we had a vehicle called a Husky and a Buffalo. So those were two vehicles. One was the metal detection and ground penetrating radar that would find the IEDs and mark it. They also had signal jammers. And then the Buffalo would pull up, which had a big hydraulic arm, and it would dig where the Husky marked, and it would pull up the rounds. Usually they're 155s or some sort of artillery rounds wired to a battery, and then they have usually like some sort of walkie-talkie or something else to key it or to set it off. So the Buffalo would pull from the the trigger from the rounds, and then I would get out and I would go collect the trigger for evidence and blow the rounds in place or in the ditch off to the side. So in doing that, I've had snipers take shots at me while I was working on IEDs. I've had and then have to continue getting out for more IEDs later. Had IEDs blow up close to me while I was doing convoy security, going through intersection and blow debris on me, but not take shrapnel or anything. That was kind of, you think that you're told if you get the adrenaline, you might not feel yourself get hit. So I sit down in the hatch. I'm like, am I good? To have
So
people
were you
check
like kind
me.
of like Hurt Locker?
Yeah, that movie's, obviously Hollywood, and
I know, but
didn't,
for
yeah,
yeah.
for yeah, all intents and purposes, yeah, I didn't wear a bomb suit. I was that was it, made me more immobile and a lot slower. And if I got hit, blown up, it wasn't going to really save me. It might like help a little bit to keep me alive. So I foregone, I didn't wear that, and I would just I did that for 6 months, and then they started to get the EOD trained up, and EOD came in, and then after that, I was doing like convoy security where I was in what was called the Rat Pack, which is the front two vehicles, and we'd ride like a kilometer out in front of the main body of the convoy to set off any ambushes or look for visual signs of IEDs to be able to halt the main body of the convoy.
So I mean, the two that would go out and find them at first, so they just constantly just do the roads all the time. Is that what their job is, or is it?
Yeah, we would have specific routes, and a lot of times in coordination with missions. Like I said, we were working for First and Second Marines at different times because they did the 6 month deployments. And so, let's say that they were going to go do a cordon in search of a city, we would clear the route in advance for them to go into the city, and then we would provide the cordon while they did the search, and then we'd escort them back. Or we would get mission orders to go clear a certain area of operation around a base that does a lot of supply convoys. And so we would usually do it in the middle of the night because there's less likelihood of them being able to set them off, and they don't have as good of depth perception as far as aiming the IEDs in the night, and it's cooler. So we ran a lot of night missions, and we'd clear certain AOs and stay at different bases, and then clear around like Al Assad or wherever we were at. And so we did lots of different areas, but you drive like 3 to 5 miles an hour for that metal detector thing to work, and it's a very slow job. You're armed to the gills just because you're such a sitting duck. And then after when they started to bring EOD in, they started to use the robot to go up to it instead of me, so that was a little bit of an improvement. And then actually we tested a vehicle that used radiation to try to blow up the bombs in place, and I actually have disability afterwards due to that. And
Talk to me about that.
it's called the NERF system. It's neutralizing IEDs with radio frequency. And it was a prototype vehicle that they sent over in 2005, and we tested it. But the vehicle was huge, and it didn't look like any other vehicle in our fleet, so it was an instant target, and they didn't have a weapon system on top of it or any type of turret or anything. So we're like, this thing's going to get blown up immediately. We have to do something to protect it. So we were just, like I said, running the convoy security with that rat pack element that's a kilometer out in front of the main body. So they said that the effective range of this radio frequency ray in the microwave range was like 500 meters, I believe. And then I needed like 300 meters for standoff for an explosion. So we just made it an even 1,000. But I didn't have a rangefinder. I'm just eyeballing it, and I'm up in a turret out in front of this thing. And when we ride this thing underneath like friendly OPs or observation posts, overpasses and stuff where snipers were, we'd have to shut the machine down for coalition forces. And they said, well, it's because we get closer than 1,000 meters or whatever, closer than 500 meters. So we shut it down so we don't radiate them. And it was kind of, but the thing had to have like a generator to make this big charge for the ray, and so it would overheat a lot within an hour, and it was so big that we couldn't take it down like the routes that really had a lot of IEDs on them. We had to be on the main supply routes.
Oh,
So
really?
at the time, it's the last 90 days of my tour, and I'm thinking this is a cake mission. Like, I guess if you guys are putting me on this, fine. We go down the main supply route for an hour, and then I go back home, and the thing overheats, and we go back home. So it didn't seem like it was that bad. But afterwards, I've had my gallbladder removed from being like, it's called a porcelain gallbladder. It had scar tissue as if I'd had like gallstones my entire life, but I never have. And then I've had like just really bad stomach issues and infertility.
From the radiation?
Yeah, that's what yeah.
Because if it's putting it out, did they not protect you on the inside?
No, I mean, I had my regular flak jacket on with the plates in it, but I didn't have a Geiger counter. I didn't have like a rangefinder. Didn't have any special like clothing or suit to protect
That's what I
from.
mean. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just saying that, or because
Mhm.
you were behind it or in it.
I was in front of it.
That's right. And so you had to stay. So you had to stay so many feet in front of it at all times, or otherwise you would get hit with radiation.
Right. And it was kind of like an estimate of their effective range of the weapon, whatever. And I don't know what test environment, what variables are different in the desert, if it's hotter, I don't know, and I don't know if I was ever closer than 1,000 meters, probably, because I'm just eyeballing it. I'd hit the top of the Hummer and tell them to punch out if I thought we were too close. But it was not very like protected or at
Did it
all.
work?
No, because it was, like I said, it was so cumbersome and it's so big.
No, would it blow things
Um,
up? Is my question. Did
I
that
think
part of it
we
work?
might have seen one,
Okay.
and we don't know if it fried the electronics on any of the other ones and didn't actually set the charge off. But it on the main supply route, we have so many like sniper teams set up to catch people and placing IEDs and stuff that there's not normally a lot of IEDs on the main supply route. And so in doing that, that's what made it part of the cake mission. But I remember one time we saw like a poof in the sand, and like, I don't know, that might have been one.
Gotcha. Well, I just, with all the things you went through, whether or not it worked.
Right. After we were done with it for the 90 days, I think our report was to decommission it because it couldn't go down the routes that had IEDs, and that it overheated after a short period of time, and that it was impractical and ineffective.
So I wonder who built it, who made it for the military.
Navy Labs.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They
And were they
created
going
it.
to test it in the desert?
No, they made it within 6 months because the IEDs was the biggest threat, and we didn't have a really good way I was getting out and doing it manually. And so guys like me were getting blown up and shot doing that job. So they were looking for an alternative. And what they ended up going with was the robots, is what they used in the end.
Gotcha.
So they have the EOD teams that would launch the robots and the iPod little personal explosive type things that would eliminate them without having to be exposed.
All right. So you went through all this fun stuff. I'm sorry. It's the only way to put it.
No, it's all
That's
good, man.
bullshit, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what's the next? Don't get blown up.
Yeah.
It's not
Yes.
fun.
I hate getting blown up.
uh, so from this, you must have had PTSD.
Yes, I did.
I mean, because I was not in this, but I was medical EMT, like a paramedic, and the stuff I saw at the hospital and other stuff is, I still see it to this day and other shit. So I could just imagine, the being in that situation all the time, every day for, I don't care how many days it is. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So when you got out and came home, so did they retire you out, or you just left like normal, like your time was up?
So I just kind of got out normal at first. I was supposed to be going back to drill. They thought that when I had gotten sick in country, they thought it was like maybe dehydration or something. A couple times that I got sick using that machine over there, which I was actually lucky that it happened while I was over there, and it's on my record. I get back home and I'm continuing to have these stomach episodes, but they think maybe it's just ulcers because obviously stress and stuff. So they think it's going to heal, and then it doesn't heal. So I'm still having issues with, they say it's gastritis and give me like a 30%, but I'm still in the military. So got home in 2006 and 2008. They medically discharged me. And then I got it up to 90% eventually disability for the stomach, for PTSD, and tinnitus.
Are you at 100 now, I hope?
Yeah, now I'm at 100 and I have sleep apnea on there. And after it didn't heal for a while, it took till 2020, but
Your gallbladder's gone, right?
Yeah, gallbladder removed.
I mean, that right there. I mean, Pete, me going through the process I went through, I'm like, now I understand why these people put in so many different complaints when you do it right. That way you can get to 100. And the math for the VA is just ridiculous.
Right. I ended up using a lawyer. I think it's lawyers the number 4 veterans.com. And they're federal compensation and pension lawyers who, if you have more complex case than maybe what a VSO, a veteran service officer, can handle, like in my case, it might be better for you to, or if you've went through VSOs and been denied a couple times, might be better to go through one of the lawyers that do a free assessment and see what if they take on your case. Then they take like a percentage of any back pay they get, but it's completely worth it because they know the lawyer speak and how to secure like a nexus letter from a private doctor and how to word certain things so that they're not as disputable as if when I'd fill it out myself, and I've filled out my own PTSD thing and thinking that it's slam dunk, and it's more an emotional appeal than it was like hitting all of the things that I needed to hit legally. And so I get denied, and I'm like, what the hell, you know?
Yeah, and the nexus part, you got to connect it. That people don't understand how important that is, all the way back, and make sure you fill it out properly.
Mhm.
Because when I got out, I got denied, and I only got 10%. And I went
Yeah.
back in the late '90s, and they ignored it. And then 2000, it was. But in the last 8 years, I have to say it's much easier to go through the process than it's ever been. And everybody should be going through the process, because there isn't anybody who's been who didn't deal with something.
Yeah. And a lot of times, honestly, they're gonna your first attempt gets denied and you're gonna have to appeal it. So have that expectation, because sometimes people get frustrated when their first one gets denied. They don't appeal it and they just get really mad and upset, and or they don't think, well, maybe I don't have it as bad as I thought. Whatever. It's not indicative of they seem to deny the first one and hope you go away. So don't be afraid to appeal and to utilize out to help, like I said, lawyers or veteran service officers if you need to. And
Well, let me add one more thing. So, going through this process, a ranger helped me. I had him on the show. Great guy. He's been doing it for a while now. But I was like, okay, I'm in the mortgage industry. My whole day is how to get around things, and
mhm,
and so I was like, okay, this is what you need to do. If you did this, blah blah blah. And I looked at it the way I look at how I do mortgages, and he was like shocked how the wording was, everything was exactly. And I'm like, that's how it needs to be. And his wording was great too, but I'm just saying how I looked at things differently than everybody else, and to a point where I actually created and I'm not asking for business, I'm just stating something. I created my own veterans benefit company to help vets. But what we're doing differently is we're creating a large language model to help you fill out your stuff, where
right.
you don't have to pay somebody 30%, or you don't have to pay a company 5 times what their increase is. You'll be able to word it properly from the way that it needs to be, because it will word it for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like one of the things when you're going through it, when you're in the throes of PTSD or struggling, it's really hard to figure out how to word something and to do the legwork to get through some of these hoops. So any resources that you can find through these podcasts and listening and take notes on or write down and utilize, because it's hard to do it alone. It's almost impossible to do it alone.
You don't want to go it alone. You can,
No.
but that's why we're trying to do it. I want to get to a point where someone can pay 90, get their benefits, pay $97 for a large language model. It's going to help you write everything and go through the process for you, to where that's all it is. Instead of, I paid 5 grand, which I have no problem people paying, but if you don't have to pay, then that's not, because there are what these guys, 2 guys on TikTok call shark companies, that are
Right.
out there to just take advantage of you, and they put you up to appeals just to put you to appeals to take longer so that they get more money at the end. That's, but
Yeah.
going through this process, it is time consuming. It is, the PTSD is the worst part, because to get to end of where I'll be seeing what you have to go through to get there, but also just the stuff that you have to relive during the period of it while you're trying to go through it and answer those questions. But like you said, get to the community care part or outside, that you can get seen by a private doctor about it, so you can get the nexus letter that ties it all together.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, there's, with the mental health piece, it's hard because they're looking at a snapshot, whereas it's kind of fluid, right? Like today I'm feeling pretty good. I'm having a good day. I have good days. But let my stomach start to go off and let me start to have the stomach pain for more than 24 hours. And, there's times this year where I've had suicidal ideations and times where I've, questioned what I'm even doing because of lack of sleep, pain, multiple days in a row, and, not having like a gratitude practice like I have now, and not doing all these things that I do with the mission statement. And so, it's definitely, even with these things, I still have moments where it's very, very difficult and the PTSD comes through. But even when I'm managing it, if I go into one of these meetings with the people and I'm having a good day, they're like, oh, he seems fine. It's like, yeah, but you don't see me when I'm like laid out.
Right. Well, that's like one of the guys is part of, he just came on this year for our Operation Firewalk, where we do an actual firewalk across coals for end of the night kind of thing after motivational stuff for veterans. He was saying when he went in, he's like, oh, you're clean shaven, you don't have a problem.
Right, yeah, like, some of the weirdest thing, right, you're able to manicure and maintain your
Take a shower, you do all this.
yeah,
Right now, the other guy, he's like, yeah, a Vietnam vet told me don't shower for 5 days and go in.
yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if that's the thing. It's just you have to explain what the issues. I had no idea, and I'm going to say this wrong, that it was PTSD. I have vivid memories. I to the and sound. I get to tell you everything about and what they look like to this moment of the stuff that I saw and everything else, and I can still hear the screams on certain things. And I just thought I had a good memory. And the ranger's the one that's like, dude, you got PTSD and you just don't know it.
Mhm.
And you need to deal with that because you're dealing with it in other ways, like extreme exercising and workaholic. You're doing this other stuff. Just because you don't lay around in a fetal position doesn't mean you don't have PTSD.
No, you can be
Please don't take that wrong. Yeah.
a functioning traumatic,
Yeah.
and a lot of times this is what the book I wrote is called "Internal is Greater Than External: Calming the Chaos Within," and a big theme in the book is about how we chase external things, to distract ourselves from the internal pain that we're feeling. And a lot of times we can be hyper successful, pour into work and pour into a lot of things. But as soon as we have that downtime, that dead time, it's
Mhm.
like you said, the thoughts and the images like replaying, and it can be hard when you are a functioning traumatic because you can justify everything. You're like, well, I pay the bills, I go to work, I get awards at work,
I'm good.
yeah, and that's how I was, I'm like, all right, went back to school, I'm getting a 4.0, now I'm in the general schedule, I'm like a team lead, GS 13, got my house, blah blah blah. um I'm good,
Yeah.
and I'm not. Like, the external things are temporal and they can go away quickly, and if you're not working internally on your mindset, on your attitudes and your expectations and things that you can control, then it's going to be temporal. But if you work internal on those things, then you'll be able to better enjoy that external success and sustain it.
Because when you go in for their appointments, you want to go in on your worst day. What I mean by that is remember
Yeah.
what your worst day is, and that's who you are that day. Because a good
Hmm.
friend of mine, he's like got back pains, all this stuff, and even the problem of being a vet is they'll say bend over, and you'll just bend over
Hmm.
because you're told to do something, and you were told to do something for years, and you just had to do it because that's how that works. And you can't. You just have to go to where you feel pain and stop. That's what they're
Yeah.
asking you. They don't explain it. So what I've seen is now you have some of these people are there to help you, and some of these people are there to not help you and not give you anything. And there's two different
Hmm.
types of people when you go for your CMP appointments. You need to know which one you're going in for and who you're going to talk to. So you won't know that until you're in there. I went.
Yeah.
My first one was not hearing, but that was one of. But that she was really more of an advocate about the eye person, but the other one was all the stuff. And I'm like, and he was like, I'm here for you guys. This is ridiculous. You guys been through this. And he would just, okay, this is what I'm seeing, blah, blah. Is that correct? Yes. You know what I mean? It's like, and
Yeah.
it's like, then yeah, I had a different one, which was for my knee. And she kept telling me, you could just tell, and she was a VA one. So if you can, don't go to the VA ones.
Yeah.
You could just tell she was trying to catch me with this because she wanted me to lay on my back and bend my leg to show that what range of motion. I'm going, I can't do that. That's not going to work for me. I'll just stand up and lean on this thing and then do it. Cause she was trying to get me
Mhm.
to turn to where I could do it. And it's like, why are you doing this?
Right. Yeah, and I've even had them try to kinda be your friend and be cool with you in order to trick you into something or whatever,
Yeah.
and just, "Oh, yeah, I understand, but do you have good days too?" "Yeah, I have some good days," and, "Well, what happens on your g," try to get you off to talking about that, and it's like, no, like you said, stick to your guns, stick to the what it is on your worst day when your symptoms are full blown, and that's what you're describing. Um, that's what it is actually supposed to be, is how it is when it's at its worst,
Yeah.
not when you're kind of having a remission or a good day. So that's a good point to keep in mind, is to remember that this isn't your friend and it's not somebody who's um, necessarily has your best interest So,
No, because if you're trying to go for 100, it's 100% disability for most people is almost 50 grand a year. So
mhm.
remember that when you're walking in there, it's standing between you and 50 grand. So
Yeah.
if you think, yeah, I mean, that's not a proper necessarily the way to say that somebody be mad, but I'm just saying that's what they're doing. They're keeping you away from where, and the longer that they're, I mean, because when I did it, I've been at Kaiser for 20 years, so I never went to the VA. So they had no record of my stuff. So when I went in for the first time, because my guy was telling me, says, you need to get with the VA, you got to get a doctor, all that. I was able to get all my stuff in, the problems I had, because I was coming from from Kaiser.
Okay.
You follow me? And
Mhm.
I said, okay, I want
Yeah.
to have this information in here because I'm coming from Kaiser and my wife, we won't have it for a few years when she retires. So I want to make sure I have everything in the system. It didn't seem like I was trying to get everything in there because I was trying to go for a comp appointment. You follow me?
Right. Yeah, yeah.
So you need to be smarter about how you do this. And
Mhm.
when I talked to the nurse that gets you in, he was talking about stuff and I was talking about PTSD. And he's like, okay, that he could, get you set up to go see the appointment. So I told that to the doctor and she's like, he can't do that. That's my job. And so she set me up for PTSD
Yeah.
appointment. But the problem you run into is your first appointment is with another nurse. And if you don't scale over 33 on this test, they're not moving you on. So if you go in there on a good day and you try to downplay it, you're not going to get into where you need to. You have to, it's pretty much has to be every day, pretty much every day
Mhm.
that you have these issues. And so you got to remember that on that thing, you got to score 33 or greater. And that's not a negative thing, but just think about it. You have PTSD majorly and you're trying to be not, you don't want to talk about you have a problem because you're a vet, because that's who we are. We don't say
Right.
help. And now you can't get help and you commit suicide.
Yeah, exactly, or you get, like, denied or get a 10% rating or something stupid, and then
Well, you
it
go to the
can.
next, so that's just the first one. And then the next one's a social worker. You got to get, again, 33 or greater to get onto
Mhm.
to see an actual doctor about it. Psychologist.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
definitely a problem. Yeah, and, I've even had it so when I was at 90% and I wanted to go for 100, it's like a retaliation type thing. They were I applied, I got federally retired from federal service, and then because my issues were still happening. So I decided, it's at a level and it's been at a level for so many years. I'm going to apply for 100%. Applied for 100%, and they proposed a reduction to 50% at first. And I had to appeal that and go to the Board of Appeals. And when the Board of Appeals looked at my case, when the lady looked at my case, she was like, "What the heck?" And instead of reinstating me at 90, she gave me 100 permanent in total, and signed it off there with leaving with special monthly compensation, or SMC, too.
Yeah,
So,
because what people understand is you have 100%, and then there's like letters above that,
mhm,
which people understand. So you can get more than just 100%. If it's certain, so that, and people think 100%. No, there's actually other levels above that. That's what
correct.
you're talking about, right?
Yeah, you have like, I think it's 2 conditions that are at 60% or more, or something like that.
Oh, really?
Or if you're homebound, that's one of the categories. There's a few other ones. Some of them have to do with amputations and things like that, but there's one that has to do with your disability percentage and like the ability to leave the house or something.
Yeah. See, my niece's husband, let me put that right. He was at 80 and has a Purple Heart,
Yeah,
which is ridiculous. And
right.
you have kids who get out who were yelled at who are at 80%.
Yeah, and sucks that the person who has the most tenacity to go through the process usually gets the the rating, and a lot of times the person who needs it isn't able to go
Right.
through that process and have that tenacity without a support system. So that's what I'm trying to say with reach out and lean on people that have been through it before, and that'll increase your chances of being able to get through the process, because it is a bear.
Yeah. It's because I've been in it since I started working. So April of last year, whatever, not this year, but last year is when I actually applied to, start the process. And I was
Mm,
working with this lady from the VA who supposedly knew everything and she was horrible. And
yeah.
then I ran into this guy 9 months later and then got to the process and we actually submitted it in February. I was at 5 of 8, almost done. And then all of a sudden I'm back down to 3 of 8 because what they didn't do is send me for my worst, the stuff I had originally. They didn't send me to get seen for.
And it opens up when you do a thing, it opens up all your categories for re-review.
And that's okay. I'm good with that because I only got
Yeah,
10% for all that. Yeah.
yeah.
So they went back and they're actually and then when I was in, I had high blood pressure. But at the time, they don't call it high blood pressure because it
Okay.
was underneath that. Well, now they're have it's the dumbest thing is I have to go for a high blood pressure thing, and it was like a mile away from my house. They canceled that appointment 2 days ago and then go, "Okay, we need you to go here." That is 50 miles away from my house. And they're like, "It's a 40-minute." It's like, no, it's not. It's like, "What's your problems? Blah, blah, blah. Let me check your blood pressure. Did you bring in the paperwork that showed the different days?" Yes. It's a freaking 20-minute appointment. You want me to drive an hour
An
each way
hour.
now? Yeah.
Yeah. To put a cuff on that you can do at any place.
Right. And the problem I have with that is I was like, okay, when's the next appointment for the here? Well, it's end of the month. Well, I'm already pushing this out. I don't want to push it out another 2 weeks. It's
Right.
because they still haven't got me for my PTSD of the new thing that I have. Right. They have. So what's going to happen is they're going to through the whole process, get back to 5 of 8, and then go, "Oh, we didn't do this." Kick me back
Yeah.
out, and then they're going to send me for PTSD.
Oh, that's
It's
maddening.
it is because and a friend of mine who's been dealing with it through the process, I got him involved, helped out, with the same ranger guy. So the guy that I arranged, I sent so many people to, love him, but he's just not able to handle the volume and need help, right? So that's
Right.
why we got involved with this because I'm close to the Bay Area, we're close to tech, the whole 9 yards.
Mhm.
How can we utilize tech to help everybody through this process easier? And that's what we're doing. So,
Yeah, that's a really good, strategy to take, especially with, AI being
oh
so,
yeah.
powerful now and being able to search, like, location specific because sometimes it's different, depending on where you're at, which
Well,
V
keep going. I'm sorry.
VSO or which person you can work with.
Right. Well, not only that, I don't even have it search that. It's going to be able to handle everything. Like it's going to have
Mhm.
it'll search the guidelines. It'll search
Right.
the 38 Fs whatever. It'll have all that information. You drop in your DD 214, it'll know where you were.
Mhm.
It'll know what you did, and then you
And
just have to, huh?
the common things for that area from that deployment, da, da,
Or the
da,
common
yes.
things for somebody in your rating
Mhm.
and that you have all those different things, and then it's just gonna be so much easier and faster, which I can't believe they're not doing already.
Yeah, now that you've mentioned that, it does seem like that would be, very powerful to be able to, you know, you can ask it to create you a template or,
Well,
ask
your
it
your Nexus letter, hell, here's your
right.
Nexus letter, and now go
Mhm.
get it signed by your, whatever, if you
Mhm.
need to. Because a lot of the times you just filled out the forms you fill out, you're filling out that information on there. Why do you have what PTSD? What is it from? What did you see? All that stuff. People aren't relating it back to what they saw. And
Right.
the one thing that was good about this person that helped me was he's like, we got to relate it back to the military and what you saw, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
One of
Right,
the
and then
things from my like sleep apnea you brought up, right? I've been out
mhm.
for a long time. I didn't and they didn't start testing it since, 98. I think it was
Okay.
97, 98 is when they started testing in the military for it. I was out before then, but I have sleep apnea. So how can you relate it back to your nexus to the military? Well, did you snore?
Mhm.
And do you have buddies who could say that? And
And
how do you
do
yeah.
you have PTSD?
Yeah.
Because you can have sleep apnea secondary to PTSD, especially if you're not overly obese and you have PTSD and sleep apnea, then you can get a doctor to a sleep. I had a sleep specialist. I have sleep apnea and I'm not obese. So my sleep doctor said that in his opinion, the Nexus letter, it's more than likely that my sleep apnea is caused by PTSD or at least exacerbated or whatever. And so then because I have PTSD as a service connected, I get the sleep apnea as a secondary condition to the PTSD. And so that's a way to go about it. And the
And
other,
the
yeah.
problem now is though, is that's changing on
Oh,
the
okay.
sleep apnea. So going forward, I don't know when it is, but it's soon. If your machine helps your sleep apnea, you won't get a rating from it.
Okay.
So it's going to mess with a lot of people. If you're not already in the system or have your numbers in it, whenever that comes into play, which is going to be in the next few months,
Mhm.
you just SOL on sleep apnea.
Phew. Yeah, and, mine
That's
actually I don't.
50%, easily
Yeah,
50%.
yeah, no, that's it.
PTSD, that's easy not to have to push, is 70. So you figure
Mhm.
70 plus sleep apnea, you're at 85,
Yeah.
and they round you to 90.
Mhm.
Well, what other issues do I have? I have two knees with bone, one extremely bone on bone. They want me to do a total knee replacement, and it's the same knees I've been complaining about since when I got out. It's on my records, and the question is, what are you going to get for that? 30 for each
Right.
knee, right? Bilat and all that. So I mean, if you add up, so if you have to put in, so I didn't realize why this guy was putting in like 22 different things for me.
Mhm.
Well, you get to and this wasn't supposed to be a show about sleep, about ratings, but
Yeah.
we just got here. But you look at, okay, if PTSD easy number to get qualified for 70%. So that's 70. That means you have 30 left. Well, 30% of your 50% for sleep apnea gives you 30% of 50 is 15. All right, you following the math there? 15 on 70 is 85. So now you
Right.
have 15% less. Now, if you have a 30, what's 50%, 15% of a 30% rating? 9,
Mhm.
right? So 9 minus 15. Now you have 6 left over, right? The last time I went to school. So now you have 6%. Your next knee is now 30. Well, you get 6% of that 30. You know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah.
that's why you need all those additional little things.
The VA math is,
Yeah.
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 You
Because
can
they
have
look at
my
you're
I think I get,
100%
like.
healthy, and then when the first one is, okay, well, you're only 30% left of that healthy body, and that's why they
Mhm.
only give, so it's kinda messed
Ah,
up.
okay. Yeah, I know that I've added up if you add it up straight up, it's like 210%, but that barely got me to 100%. I was like,
Yeah,
"What?"
well, that's the guy went with, it's like point wise, you need 200 and some many points, and you're at 760. Well, no, when you really research it and do the math, that's not how it works, but that's just an
Mhm.
easy way for them to tell you
Yeah,
that
like a roundabout.
you're really going to get it because you're, we need a little over 200 and you're at 760. I mean, because I got both my knees, both shoulders. I picked up patients. I picked up stuff. I mean, we
Mhm.
constantly move stuff and we hurt ourselves with it.
Yeah.
And we saw stuff. Medical people see stuff daily
Oh,
that
yeah.
you guys see occasionally, every so
Mhm.
often. So,
Definitely. And I
yeah.
think that one thing I wanted to say about maybe the PTSD, if you're going through ratings, like what I did, we were talking about is kind of constant hypervigilance, trauma. It's really hard for me to pick out one specific instance of PTSD, and but you have to. And
Right.
so even I just can't be like, well, I did explosive ordnance disposal, or I did combat engineer and disarmed IEDs, so I have PTSD because I did that every day for a year. They're like, "Well, what specific one messed you up?" Like, all right, whatever. It was the conglomerate of the whole year over there, but so just focus in on
You're right. You
one
need something.
thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, that happened, even if you had like a whole deployment that was full of it. Pick one thing and focus in on that
and
day.
that's and that's what I did because I had a guy that was, so this was stateside, and we were at Camp Pendleton, and he was riding his motorcycle up in LA, and he got ran over by a guy with on PSP,
Oh
whatever,
yeah, yeah.
LSD or whatever you want to fucking call it, PP, whatever, that drug him for a mile and a half underneath the car. He had full clothes on and everything, but he was held himself up with the boots and his helmet, but his ass hit many times. So when I got him in physical therapy, I had to scrape his ass and put
Yeah.
him in hydro and he screamed and screamed. And it wasn't just like a minute, it was fucking 30 plus minutes. And this was 2 appointments. And then finally I got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. Talked to my head of my department, said, this is bullshit. I can't go through this anymore. Me alone, but him, the pain I'm putting his ass through.
Right, right.
This is the worst thing I've ever, think about it. It's not like you're fixing a wound on somebody real quick to get them through and they're screaming and you're hitting them
Mhm.
more and boom, to get them off. No, this is like purposely ripping skin off of him and scrubbing him. I'm sorry if you're going to get sick, and I finally
No.
got to the point where I was like, okay, take him up to the hospital, take him up to surgery, get a wire fucking brush, take the shit off and be done with it.
Right. Yeah,
And so
quit
that
bringing
was,
them back for the prolonged torture.
yeah, and me, I'm doing the
Yeah.
torture. It's
Mhm.
like the guys who did the torture and these all these prisons that were, they're fucked up from it.
Yeah.
because of the shit that they had to do and see. And for me, that was just one of the things, but it was something I had said that's even in my medical record from saying it, that and that's so if you can get those things in, I feel it's a lot easier to prove you have it, or you don't necessarily have to have the nexus letter as much as you do with a PTSD person, because it's already in your medical record from you being there and people talking to you about it.
Correct. Yeah, and, like, I received a combat action badge, for being over when I was over there, and that has, the write-up of that cites a certain instance, and so I utilized that. I went back
Right.
and read the cab write-up, and then I just re that's what I used for my PTSD instance, and that's in my file,
Right.
so
It
yep,
just makes it easier. They don't necessarily have to find, oh, there is a nexus. It's right there. It's
right.
already in there. If you don't have any of that kind of stuff, you really have to have your physician or your psychologist or whoever you're going through get that into that nexus letter for you.
Mhm. Yeah, I had to have the nexus for the sleep apnea,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
yeah.
go for it. How did you get that? Well, that was secondary for your PTSD, right?
Yeah, I went through, like, the sleep institute, and I did, like, an online or they sent me a home test kit, and after I tested, they had a place for nexus letters or for veterans, and so I went there and had that doctor who is the head of that clinic wrote the nexus letter for me, has experience writing them for that specifically.
Yes, for me, I went through Kaiser already because my wife for years was telling me, you're stopping sleep, breathing and all that, and of course you ignore the shit out of it. Finally, I
Mhm.
went through it, and yeah, I had it, and so I had a machine already when I went through mine. So they just needed, since I'd been in it within a year, they just took my sleep apnea study from Kaiser. I just had to upload it and then that was the one they used for me. The question is, how do you nexus it back to the military? Because I'd been out for over 20 years.
Right.
And that was I'll tell you offline
Alright. Sounds good.
because I haven't got it yet. I don't want them to use this
Mhm.
against me down the road.
No,
And it
I
was nothing
understand.
wrong. It was not,
Mhm.
it was truthful, totally what I did. But if people, it's just, I look at things differently than other people and how to connect things. And that's what I
You
do.
have to. Well, that's
Yeah.
good to have you, as a resource too.
Yeah. So if anybody has any questions, reach out to us. And it's actually, so the website's helpingthebrave.com. So the podcast Helping the Brave has been around for over 4 years. And I've talked to so many people about stuff. So and when I was creating everything, of course, I used ChatGPT, and it was telling me, well, you have this Helping the Brave. You have built this up. You should keep that as the name for your
Mhm.
benefit company. And so that's what we did. So you'll have the podcast on there, but you'll have the other stuff on there too. The new website will be up in the next week. I just have to finalize a couple things on it. We have one there now, but the new one that's going to have the problem is we did it through a different thing, and I couldn't add all the podcasts on it. So now we're going through it on a WordPress site. It's completely done. I just have to go in there and make changes. In the last 2 weeks, I've been busy doing other things. So,
Nice. That'd be good to get that up and going and
yeah.
have people be able to utilize that resource. That's cool.
Well, it's going right now because the guy that's helping me, he's an Army vet, and
Okay.
he went through the process himself, did it himself, and now he's going to train everybody. And we have so many people want to be involved and help vets and do this who are people who have either 100% disabled or are the spouse of a 100% disabled person who've been through the process and understand it and want to help us out.
Mhm.
And I talk to so many people. You want to get it started before you get out if you can, and you want to document everything that happened to you while you're in.
Yeah,
Create a
definitely.
journal. Use if you have an iPhone, use that notes app and just document, hey, today we were going through here, we cleaned this, we did, what I mean, whatever it is, because you're not going to remember it all when you get out and years later. But
Yeah.
document your days and why you're there and what happened to you. Like my son, when he's an airborne medic, they got blown into trees. They hit one of his last jumps. They hit him hard. I mean, major stuff, and that'll be something he'll need to keep track of. Stuff
Right,
like
because the after action reports and all the littler reports don't make it into your records, and, that instance, if you don't have it written down,
that.
is
Right.
just, okay.
And date, time, and what happened.
Mhm.
Because then going forward, it's there. You can remember. You can bring it up on this day. We did. Because when you're in the field, that shit doesn't make it in your medical record.
No, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Unless after the
Mhm.
fact you go and get seen. Well, you don't go to get seen. You go home.
Right.
Or
Yep.
or somewhere else, barracks, whatever you're at. But
Mhm.
Cole, it was nice talking to you today. Was there anything else you want to add for people since we've been doing this for 49 minutes and we've been all over the place?
Yeah, I guess what I really enjoy. I wrote a book called "Internals Greater Than External: Calming the Chaos Within," and within it there are some tactics on how to deal with suicidal ideations and how to deal with depression and some of the symptoms from PTSD. So
Where is it located?
you can find it on Amazon if you just search Cole Grace, and then my YouTube and Instagram are on the screen.
And if you're not on looking on the screen because you're listening to this as a podcast, that's at C Grace 21, and then that's your YouTube, and C Grace 2180 underscores your Instagram. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
All right, there you go. Only thing I would tell you to do is try to change those and make them the same.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because I'm Ed Parcaut everywhere. Because one of my guys, mentors, who he just passed away,
Yeah.
doing this whole thing. Because what happens is we tell everybody how much they mean to us when they pass away, but we don't tell them ahead of time. We need to tell people how much they mean to us now, and so don't reach out to somebody today and every day. I'm doing it for the next 30 days. I'm dropping a bunch of stuff on Facebook about to remind people about this kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
check it.
that's a good point. Definitely.
Well, we're so quick to, oh, I meant to say it. I meant to tell you that you
Yes.
did so much to me, but let me tell you at your gravesite.
Yeah, so many times I get the thought of a friend and something, and I don't end up sending it, but it's a good reminder to do that.
You have to, because, and besides just helping people, just to let them know how much they mean to you, by doing this, you're reaching out to people we know that's been vets and everybody else. It could be that change the word they don't commit suicide, or they just need that little help to help them get through it. Or they might reach out to you, hey, I got this problem, because those veterans, unfortunately, do not like to ask for help.
Right. Yeah, and then when you do ask for help and you're unable to get it, it makes it kind of a little bit worse when you finally, get the gumption to ask for help and to apply for the PTSD and you get denied, or you call somebody and they don't answer. So,
Well, that's call somebody that will answer.
right. Right.
Yeah, because people call people that won't answer so that they don't get that. They don't have to talk to people. But
Yeah.
I'm just going to let you know, going through the PTSD to get that information on, you're going to relive shit that's going to mess with you, and just
Yeah.
understand that. But there's positive on the other side is the fact that you will get your benefits and what you need and get the help you deserve. Cole, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, Ed, I appreciate it.
All right. If I can ever help you, let me know. And I'm going to hit you up for a signed copy of your book
All
next
right.
time you're in Michigan, because I don't want you to mail it out from Costa Rica,
Definitely.
because it'll be expensive, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the shipping.
Yeah. So for me, when I mail my book out, I do media, and it's only like $8. I'm sure
Nice.
you don't have media over there. Like
No.
you don't have a post office like USPS. So,
Right. Yeah. And then to send it over is a little bit much to
yeah,
go, I think, export and import taxes or whatever.
that's just too bad. All right. Again, Cole, thanks so much for being on the show. Appreciate you.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too.